Hey out there. Hey, this is the morning of December 29th, 2013, out here in Northern California. And the reason I'm making a video today is because of something I saw on the mainstream media. I don't know what channel it was, but it was a mainstream media. All I get is digital antenna TV here in Chico, California. And it pertained to, of all things, forest fires. And it was a public service announcement type ad. And they were telling the people that the majority of forest fires are caused by humans. Whether it be accidental or intentional, but they were human caused. And right away I thought to myself, how is that possible? How Here in California, back in 2008, you can look this up. It was widely reported there was over 2,100 fires burning simultaneously, all caused by lightning strikes. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's so absurdist that they're feeding us this, and I can't help but wonder, why is it? Why are they telling people this? Because these people are usurpers. I wonder who's sponsoring this ad. Okay? What's this all about? Why is it because they got to incarcerate these people that accidentally start a fire? I don't understand what this is about. And but I do understand this much. I do understand that on its face it seems ridiculous to me. When Mother Nature starts that many fires, it's a very natural occurrence. It's an ecological necessity to burn the underbrush of the forest in order to spare the old growth trees. This is nature at work. This is just the way it works. This is what's supposed to happen. And this soil needs the nutrients that are produced from these fires. So the whole idea of putting out forest fires willy-nilly is absurdist. I mean, I'm all for protecting the structures. And the last thing I want to do is start a fire anywhere accidentally. I'm very careful with these sort of things, and I recommend everybody is. Because I mean, it could be your own life at danger. You start a forest fire in the wrong place, you end up trapped, or you trap somebody else. I don't want to risk hurting anybody. I mean, the idea that a fire could get out of hand, but when it comes to nature, these things need to happen. But I'm all for protecting the structures. I don't want to go off too much on this, but I want to point out how the mainstream media conditions us and brainwashes us, whether they're aware of what they're doing or not. The most guilty ones, of course, are those that will intentionally deceive you. Those that are of lesser guilt are those that spew out what they hear, they parrot what they hear from their controllers, and they don't question it. They are willfully ignorant of the truth. And these people are every bit as dangerous because of their influence on the general public. Okay, the mainstream media constantly, I mean, all across America and the world, we always hear about crime. Large scale, medium scale, small scale. We hear about the associated violence. It's all over the news, as if, the human condition, they're just these defective people out there that for no apparent reason do this. But how many of those mainstream media spokespeople know the reason? They know the reason. Okay, they know the cause. But you don't hear it discussed. You don't hear poverty discussed on that basis. That this is the cause of so much of the crime. The vast majority of the crime is committed because of financial desperation. So what's the solution? It's obvious. And poverty. And then even Christians will quote Jesus saying, oh, the poor you will always have with you. And it was in reference to a bottle of perfume that was poured on Jesus' feet by a woman that was preparing him for his crucifixion and his subsequent resurrection. And it was a very beautiful act in the sight of God. And Jesus said at that time, listen, the poor you're always going to have. And what he was saying was he wanted the poor to take his place. So all you Christians out there that somehow rationalize ongoing abject poverty increasing, okay, you're sons of hell and you don't even know it. You're hypocrites. You're lukewarm. You're the type that I believe it was Isaiah the prophet that warned, these people, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. So get with the program, God's program. Tune in to that still small voice of the Holy Spirit that's talking to all of us all the time, that just wants to be our friends and uplift us and help us to uplift each other. You know, just by caring, just by being decent human beings, we can please God and find true happiness. We can find any semblance of joy that we can ever really have in this world by doing that. That's the only way we can find it. We've got to face our fears. And what are our fears? The fears for a truly honorable person is the God of this world. And the God of this world is a competing God for the true God. And it operates through money. For all intents and purposes, Satan is money. This is the mindset. It's controlling you and convincing you that it has legal, lawful, legitimate ownership over the earth. And that's false. We're all transient. You're born, you live, your life may be very brief, it might be medium, and it might be long. But whatever it is, we know it's transient. We're mortal beings. We're all just passing through. So in that sense, this planet belongs to each and every one of us equally. For the short time we're passing through and visiting. We're born rich. We've got to nullify, invalidate, okay, what these people have done to us in terms of our mental state, this fear. We've got to face the fear, the insecurity these people instill in us. They inflict upon us. They infect us with. And we're all screwed up because of it. I mean, I'm spending money. You know, I've bought into it to some degree. And how do you not? And people will say, oh, those are the happiest ones, you know, that are prosperous and, you know, they serve well and they conform to the system. And if you're not conforming well, you don't have common sense. You're not pragmatic. You know, you're not being smart. You're not being prudent. I've heard it all before. So those that trample the others that are living by the golden rule under their hooves are the smart ones, huh? Well, they're on the highway to hell. I'm here to tell you. And it's not going to go good for these people. And it's coming right up. And you got not only me, but plenty of people like me warning you out there. Okay, you've got to understand how you're being deceived. Does the mainstream media ever discuss the long-term effects of debt, national debt? Do they ever tell you what is happening right before our eyes? Do they talk about the debasement of our currency? Okay, do they talk about the fact that these banks really don't want the nation out of debt? Do they talk about the fact that a lot of people are benefiting? And this is the only basis why Wall Street is artificially soaring. There's no reason for these stocks to soar. Does the mainstream media ever discuss what true checks and balances are? I understand the dictionary definition about the separation of the government powers, the judicial and the legislative and the executive. I understand these things and but there is other definitions that should be written there. And a check and a balance, to my understanding, is simply like a scale. Okay, if it starts tipping this way, and what your aim is to keep that scale balanced. And in the regard I'm talking to is maintaining what is considered a minimally accepted standard of living. And this has been attempted in the past. John F. Kennedy tried to give us this with sound currency. And sound currency requires checks and balances. And the idea behind the currency John F. Kennedy was circulating, which was competing with the Federal Reserve notes, was silver. Because of its finite nature, he knew that it would work at least to some degree. It would be a way to check and balance the dollar, to ensure that we maintained in America a minimum standard of living that would create, as the rising tide of prosperity increased, which was ever so evident, as automation, mechanization, robotics, technology of every sort was increasing exponentially, okay, with heavy equipment in the farms, making it ever so easy to produce all our needs. He knew, as so many others did, like even Adam Smith over 200 years ago, knew that a rising tide of prosperity where there was all this excess, all this superfluity of merchandise, which is basically what's going to make you wealthy. Once you have a little piece of land and you have a home, most people are very content with very little. So to make somebody wealthy is not difficult. The rest is trinkets, all these luxuries that we have today, the computers and the television. All this stuff is totally unnecessary, and it's abundant and dirt cheap for the most part. But where they've got us is with our essential human needs. Food and shelter primarily is where they've really gotten us by the throat. And they've done this with the debt. This is how they've enslaved the people. That's how they have us in fear. What they've legitimized this. It becomes policy. And now the policy is just to steal people's houses. They dumped all that money on the housing market illegitimately. These appraisals are based on nonsense. I've been in the business, and I know for a matter of fact the appraisers are working for the banks, and the banks want to dump as much money as they can get away with legally and covering their bet by this insurance, by being insured by the people. And, which is privatizing the profits and socializing the debt. The debt always falls on the people. So in order to really rip you off royally, they've got to steal your house. And that's what they're doing. And so the people that are tasked to do this are your local sheriffs, your marshals, and whatnot, to go in there and steal this property. It's complete theft. And you know what? And more law enforcement is seeing through this, and they don't want to do it. And thank God they don't want to do it. And thank God some of them are flatly refusing. Because this is a nasty job, is stealing these homes. I suggest you consult with a real estate attorney, somebody of integrity, and see how you can keep your home, because there is ways. But what these people have done to us is completely wrong. These are just a murderous gaggle of satanic thugs. I don't know how else to put it. They're genocidal maniacs. They're increasing poverty, increasing homelessness, increasing desperation and fear and death, people dying out on the streets in the cold. I mean, good God, the things that are on these people's conscience. You don't want any part of this establishment. This establishment is a false establishment. It's built on a hill of sand. It's a satanic monopoly, a palace built on a sand hill, and it's all going to come crumbling down. It has to, thank God, but it's going to be so traumatic for those that are so invested in it. I think this is where the poor are lucky. You don't have much to lose when this thing comes crashing down, but it's got to. But as long as these people still have a critical mass, that it can go on for a long time, and they keep pulling tricks out of their hat, which is essentially magic tricks I'm talking about. These are sorcerers. They conjure up more and more nutty ideas on how they can keep pulling the wool over our eyes and keep deceiving people and keeping them confused, keeping them believing that high housing prices are a good thing, But we never hear, hey, the mainstream media, what if your property taxes were about to go up to 10%? Would they report that as a good thing? If not, why not? You see, these people are either liars, they're idiots, they're deceived, or they're willfully ignorant. But somewhere along the line, there has to be accountability. And when I talk about checks and balances, that's what it's all about. And it's up to you, it's up to me, to hold other people accountable. When we see through the veil of darkness, it's our duty to expose these people. It's a commission, and we need to feel compelled to do it because we want to be happy. So you can do it for, selfish reasons, which turn out to be unselfish because it's a sharing of knowledge. And it doesn't do anybody any good to bury your head in the sand and to be willfully ignorant, because as they say, ignorance is bliss. Like the three monkeys, you know, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, which is completely contrary, diametrically opposed to the teaching of Jesus.